What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of JY Throws. Over the past week, I've been in Munich getting my back worked on, and now that everything's feeling a lot better, they've been giving me some great rehab exercises. So in today's video, I want to break down what those exercises are and some of the most helpful cues while they're still fresh in my mind so that I don't forget them, or maybe you want to start to incorporate them into your own workouts. So before we get into the specific exercises, there's three critical positions that I want to break down because this will help me explain all of the positions later on a lot better. The first position is the orientation of my spine. I'm trying to maintain the natural curve that the spine should have because the doctors here are saying that my lower spine is pretty flat. So during all the exercises, I'm trying to rotate my hips back a bit so that I maintain that arch. So when I'm on the ground, you can see him sticking his hand under my back and he's trying to make sure that I'm keeping that arch in my spine. And at the same time, I'm trying to squeeze my belly button into my spine. So without flattening out my back, I'm trying to tighten everything up, but still maintain that arch, if that makes any sense. The second important position you'll also see throughout a lot of exercises, and that's keeping my chest up and arms back and keeping it in this nice rigid position here. And a lot of the movements start from this position. So the third important position that I want to cover is anytime my hands are on the ground or against the wall, I'm trying to think about pushing my arms into the ground and pushing my upper body up to the sky. And you'll see the physical therapist talking about getting me into these positions and reminding me as all the exercises go on. But I want to cover them now because there's also a bunch of other cues for each exercise that are also important. And these are the three main movements that came up over and over again that he had to keep reminding me of. So with that out of the way, let's get into the exercises. I think this will be easiest for me if I just talk about some of the positions that I'm trying to hit, and I'll try to make it as obvious as possible as I explain it. So the first cue I'm trying to think is chest up, like that second position. The foot that's facing backwards, I want to have my toes on the ground like this. And I need to make sure that my legs are lined up nice and straight with my hips and not getting too wide. And one of the most helpful cues for this exercise is actually the opposite of position one, and I'm trying to rotate my hips the other way, and that's helping me get a nice stretch through my quads. And the final cue that I'm trying to think of for this exercise is while I'm rotating those hips forward to stretch the quad, I'm also trying to activate my glutes on that leg that's down, and that helps me get even more stretch. All of the exercises that you see throughout this video are in their basic form, and you can start to modify and add things to make them more difficult as you get more comfortable with the positions. So that's something that I'm going to be doing as I get better and better at these positions. So a step up from this is by putting a box or something underneath your foot, and that starts to put your leg at an even steeper angle to get even more stretch.
A little bit more up. Yes. Chest out. Yes. And go. Turn your head out again. Stay there, stay. So this stay in the shoulder.
So one of the most important things with this exercise is making sure that as I open up my arm, I don't let it get out of alignment with my shoulder. And you can see that in this movement compared to the rest of the exercise once I fix the issue. And the second key part of the movement, you can see that his hand's on my back to keep everything nice and still in my lower back. And I'm just trying to open up everything with only my upper body and start to loosen up and get my thoracic spine moving. The next exercise is similar in that I'm trying to leave my lower spine where it is and only move my thoracic spine. I'm just now on my hands and my knees. And similar to the first exercise, I want to make sure that my legs are in line with my hips and they're not too narrow or too wide. And the whole time while I'm in this position, I'm trying to keep my core nice and activated by thinking about pulling my belly button into my spine. And that seems to be a cue that helps me mentally activate everything.
Next exercise. Down. And up, chest out. Don't do this. Not this. Always this. Up. Up. Yeah. And up. Chest out. Yes. Down. And up. Look down. Yes. 7 more.
So for this exercise, I'm trying to think about all three of the positions that I mentioned earlier. I'm trying to feel that arch in my lower spine. I'm trying to feel like my chest is sticking out. And at the same time, as I push into the ground, I'm trying to push my upper body away while still maintaining that chest out feeling. One of the most difficult things about this movement is that as I try to feel my chest sticking out, my neck wants to come up so that it forces my chest to come out further. But since my arms are in front of me, I just need to think about keeping that neck nice and in line with my spine. So the next exercise, I'm trying to think chest up, And then I'm starting off with a few pelvic tilts, trying to feel my hips go all the way forward and then all the way backwards. And after doing a few reps, I stop right in the middle to try to end up in that nice curved spine position. And from there, I raise my knees up and I'm just dropping one leg down at a time, trying to maintain that same spine position with a nice tight core. Now, to modify this exercise and make it a bit more difficult, you can take a medicine ball or some kind of weight and hold it over your head like this. And instead of having bent knees and dropping them down to the ground, you can straighten out your legs. And both of those adjustments will start to work the muscles more by still doing the same movement. The next exercise, flipping over to my stomach, I'm still trying to feel that same curved lower spine position. And as I'm thinking about that curve in my spine, I'm still trying to think about pulling my belly button in to make sure my core is nice and activated. And I'm thinking about having my chest out, but now my hands are at my side, making what would look like a W if you were standing above me. And now I'm trying to reach straight out and pull back in. And when I pull back in, I want to keep going all the way down and feel my scaps pull in nice and tight. And to modify this exercise and make it a bit more difficult, you can add some light weights to your hand, and it really doesn't take much to work all those little muscles in your back. So this was just about 2 extra pounds in my hands, and it made a big difference. Pretty much everything's super key to make sure keeping chest out and really thinking about trying to squeeze the belly button into my back. The next exercise is planks, and again I'm thinking about all of those same key positions with the curved spine, the chest out, tight core, and pushing into the ground with my elbows and pushing up with my upper body. And some ways to modify this is by adding some movement to the plank.
More like this. More, yeah.
The next exercise is these hip thrusts, and I have a rubber band around my knees that's trying to pull my knees together, so I need to keep them nice and in line with my hips. And as I'm driving up, I'm thinking about pushing my knees forward, and at the top of the movement, I'm trying to really squeeze my glutes. So for these, when I'm going up, I'm feeling my knees go that way, and really focusing on tightening the glutes, and then it's doing what I want it to do. And as I go down, I'm not going down all the way to the ground. I'm stopping right before and going back up, and again, driving those knees out and squeezing the glutes. Now to modify this, you can go to one leg and start to do the same thing, thinking about the same cues. The next exercise is these side planks with the rotation. And the biggest cue for me was making sure that my hips are stacked up on top of each other and I'm not rotating off of a vertical axis. And I'm just trying to leave the lower body still as I rotate my upper body by reaching under me with that arm.
Or like this. Always stable, but with rotations.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. The next exercise is these lateral band steps. And this was the most helpful cue. With these, I'm trying to think, drive off of the back leg, but it's just a little tiny step. I'm trying to maintain all the same positions as all the other exercises. And to modify the workout, you can move the band down lower and lower on your legs, and that makes it more and more difficult. The next exercise, I'm standing up a bit taller, thinking about the chest out, but now I've got a second band in my arms, and I'm trying to hold this position as I think about the same cue driving with my legs. I don't know what to call this exercise, but as I'm dropping down, I'm thinking about getting my weight back over top of my heel. I don't want to be getting too far forward onto my toes. And at the end of the exercise, this was the most helpful cue for me. I'm trying to think, keeping my hips level on the way down and not do weird things with them. And I'm still trying to think about all those same positions from the beginning of the video. This exercise was actually one of my favorites, and it's such a simple movement, but it was so effective. And my core was burning afterwards. And I'm just holding onto the kettlebell over my head as a bit of support. I'm just trying to think slow up, hold it for a second, and then slow back down. The next exercise, back onto my hands and knees, and trying to remember all of the same cues. But now I'm just picking my knees up off the ground slightly, and alternating raising feet. Eventually, as I find more balance in this, I'll try to progress to lifting up my opposite arm and my opposite leg. And the last exercise for this video is up against the wall, trying to feel that arch in my back, trying to push with my elbows into the wall while I'm pushing away with my upper body, keeping a nice tight core and just slowly walking up and down the wall with my arms, trying to maintain full contact with my whole forearm and hand. And with that, I'm going to wrap up the video here. I wanted to put this video together so I don't forget any of the cues that were really important, because I know after a couple days I'm going to forget about a lot of the stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and maybe some of these things might be useful for you. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.